Riu haria tukinyitie ri ni twanyita Koinange riu muthuri highly respected na maundu anyitite na hinya muno mashashi ginya kwiyakira ni atuo senior chief na advisor wa DC wa Kiambu. So he's doing well in the church, he's doing well in the administration of the British government. No ninge ena his political grievances ya kuruira maundu ma migunda ya andu iru na mugunda wake we mwenyewe. How hathire atia?
Now in 1919 hari undu wekikire. Something happened. Let me first of tell you about Stefano. Stefano Kinyajui. Stefano Kinuthia. Stefano Kinuthia was the first Kikuyu to go to Britain.
Okay.
Stefano was he was staying with the Riki family. When the Riki family came, they bought the Riki family, the Stefano, the Mudhemba family. They were from Tinganga. They went to Kivesheko. They stayed a bit in Kivesheko, and they found land in Kabeta. So they went and bought land from the Drobo. They bought a big chunk of land. So when the Riki family came, they actually asked the Mudhemba family to sell them a piece of their land. They sold a very small piece. But the other piece was taken over by the government. That time by Muzungu. To that time, there was no Muzungu or the government. They took most of it. But before, now the Stefano, the Riki family, they decided to take Stefano to Britain.
Okay.
So he can fine-tune his English to come and help Riki translate the Bible into Kikuyu.
Okay.
And he went there. And when he came back, that time the courts were busy with the Kikuyus having some cases. So Stefano became an interpreter in the court.
Okay.
And now, I mean, the idea of him interpreting the Bible is like being killed by him being an interpreter in the court.
It was sidelined.
It was sidelined. So they decided to send somebody else to go in Britain and come back and be an interpreter. So that was the Riki idea. So they sent Idongo, Ismail Idongo. Idongo went and he came to be an interpreter. And when Idongo, I mean, that family was learned, they knew English and all that. And when Idongo, this is a different story, but it also concerns our Koinange family. When Idongo was interpreting in the court, in fact, interpreters were feared. You go to the court and you can see an African talking to the judge in English. Everybody, it made people even want to learn English to be like Idongo. So when Idongo was interpreting, that's when Bio was supposed to go to America. So Bio was told by his father, go and call our friends in Kabeta so we can celebrate, and you go. So Bio took a bicycle. He's going to Nairobi, come up to Kabeta and call his friends. When he went to Nairobi, he was arrested. He was riding a bicycle without license. So
sent by his father.
Sent by his father. So, and they knew now Idongo. In fact, Idongo and Buta and Bio, if you see them in their old age, they look the same. They look like brothers. Idongo and Buta, James Buta, and Bio. So Idongo talked to Bio, told him, now when you come to court, now you have to go and answer charges of riding a bicycle without license. Don't even listen to what the judge is saying, because you will not even understand. At the end of the story, the judge will ask you, guilty or not guilty? You are going to say, not guilty, my lord. Then after you say that, you don't already, he's from Britain, I know what I'll say, and he'll be released. So, even in the morning of the same day of the court, Idongo asked Bio, you remember what I told you? Yeah, what are you going to say? Not guilty, my lord. Fine. So they went to court. Bio they read the charges. And the judge, you know, about those judges, guilty or not guilty? Bio said, guilty, my lord. After all that practice, he was fined 5 shillings. So they paid the fine. That time is when Bio was going to. Bio that time already had gone to Baxon School, and he's in Alliance. Now he's going from Alliance to Britain. And of course, Bio going to America. It was such a, it was like a big thing in Kikuyu land. Everybody, I was telling people, Koinange, you are throwing your son. How can you let your son go to unknown? Koinange said, let us try. Yeah. So when Bio came back, everybody was telling their children, Mudome Tabiu. And now the children were also telling their father, Dhomithia Tabiu.
Yeah, okay.
So it was a big thing, and people were, of course, it was so encouraging that Bio had become the first MA degree in Kenya. So I was telling you, in 1919, now that family, the Stefano Kinodia family, their land, Mudemba family, they wanted to take a part of that land. There is an approved school there in Kabete, you know that. Whoever was in charge of the approved school wanted to cut more, to get more land. And they were left with about 60, less than 70 acres. They wanted that land. So, now, Ricky, being a family friend, advised them, what you are going to do, you are going to write a petition, make sure we cable it to Britain and see what they say. And when they cabled it, the petition, it worked. There was a ruling from there, they should not take this Mudemba's land more. They should not add. And that inspired Koinange so much. So we can write letters to the king and resorts our land is not going to go. And that time already Koinange has started buying land here. And you see Muzungu want even to go more into this land. So they decided to start a party to be writing this. So they called the commission, the native commissioner. And they asked him to bring the governor in Dagoretti. And they went there. And they said, because they want to start a party. They started a Kikuyu party called Kikuyu Association. That was the political party. Before that, there was the party of Hariduku. And Hariduku, when there was another petition they had written, and Koinange said that he asked whoever was supposed to read, it was Chief Koinange. He asked Koinange, don't read, let Hariduku is more learned, his English better, let Hariduku read. So they gave the petition to Hariduku. And Hariduku went there, integrated again, waited for the governor. Governor didn't come in time. Hariduku went. You know, there were the attacks. Still, he left. And Koinange was hurt. He had gone with a petition. So later on, Koinange they have started their own party. And so Hariduku thought, I mean, it's like they are against the Hariduku one. But they were not, because when Hariduku was detained in 1922, when Hariduku was detained, people in Nairobi, they organized a demonstration, a very big demonstration. They went to the police station. Central Police Station was immediately opposite Norfolk Hotel, where there is the culture center. That's where the police station was. So they went, there was a demonstration, they went there. And the ladies, Akina Nyanjiro, they said, give us the trousers. If you cannot take Hariduku from the cells, we are going to do it. So there was an intelligence. They knew these people are going to demonstrate. So everybody, especially people in Kare and all that, those who they have just come back from war, the First World War. They had guns and all that. They were told there is this demonstration. So they came and camped in Norfolk. So when they started the first firing, they killed more than 700 people. They killed. And now they started hunting the organizers. Now the organizers, Akina Abdara Tairara, Hamisi, and other people, Akina Aiganjo Dotono, Akina, all those, Mugekenyi was a cousin, Kikuyu, they are not cousins, half brother to Hariduku. They all came here. They were hiding. They were staying here with Joyce. Okay. Joyce was hiding. Where we are now. Yeah, Joyce was hiding them. She was the Muhiki of the senior chief, the youngest wife. She was hiding those people. So Mzungu will come and look for them, and he will come and ask Koinange questions. They are here, but Koinange will pretend he doesn't even know those things. And because they thought Koinange is against Hariduku, they would not expect them to be hiding here. But they were together. So Koinange started their political party. Something else happened, the same 1919. From 1912 to 1919, the court in Githunguri, another court, there was another court somewhere in Kabete. The court, when you go to court, Kikuyu way, nafanya kesi, after we case with you, you say you are not satisfied, you call other people, they call them Adamaki, one from maybe Alanga, from somewhere else, from Banana. They come and listen, but the one who listened first, they'll still be there. They'll brief how the case was. So when those people are coming, you bring Adenge. Because if you still not satisfied, you are going to swear an oath. So that day, they'll bring Adenge and I'll bring Adenge. We are casing with you. That's how it was. And when they are listening, of course, people, men of Boridato, they'll go to Dudu. Yes. And they Dudu, they'll ask you questions and ask the people who are giving evidence. So it was like that in Kikuyu. And now these people, Koinange I told you have already had a church here in his compound. He had built a bigger church there. Now, it's very bad to kurigathenge for a Christian. Kurigathenge was a very unchristian, let me say
according to the Christians.
According to the Christian, it was not, because you swear with, there were so many things you did. So they didn't like that. So Koinange, they made a petition. And they called the governor again in Dagoretti, and they told him this is what is happening to our people. And the Christians to us is wrong. We don't want to swear in this manner. So, in fact, kurigathenge, it was only for men. Because that dengue, they will remove they remove the pancreas.
The pancreas
of the dengue.
Okay.
And they make a hole. You put your penis there. That's how you swear. So for Christian, they won't do that. Before you swear.
They won't accept that.
So the Koinange, and now he has got a very big people who are the crowd Christians. They are being asked to do that. So instead, even if it's the border, people have changed. He said that to bring. I mean, you won't do that. So Koinange, they called the governor and they told him things it's not for us. It's not for Christian. So what they did, Koinange and Jonjo, they were made to be in charge. They were put in the court to be in charge of CMS, Anglican Church. And Karanja, or James, Philip Karanja was put in to be in charge, to represent the Scotland Church. And Warohio was put in to be in charge of the Gospel Church. That was a big breakthrough. Because now when you go to court, the people you are going to find there are Koinange. If you are Christian. So Koinange will not tell you to ringathenge. He will tell you maybe to swear with the Bible. So it was a big breakthrough.
It was a big breakthrough.
It was a big breakthrough in Christianity and also into the Koinange now, who was now a Christian. So the four of them became the elders. Became part of the court. We're calling it native council. Now, the same thing happened in Murang'a. Somebody like Budhia and Kang'ethe, Joseph Kang'ethe and Budhia, they were, and somebody else, they were also put into the native council of Murang'a. And now when they were put in there, Kang'ethe had already started a political party. Because after 1922, in Norfolk, after what happened, they banned the Hariduku party. Hariduku was taken to Kismayo detention. He stayed there. In fact, I think we talked to him, or even when he came out, he didn't want politics anymore. They built him a house, they brought him, they gave him, so he didn't want any more politics. But now, Kang'ethe, they started a political party. James Kang'ethe in Nairobi. They were meeting in somebody's called James Joroge's hotel. They were meeting there.
That's now the Murang'a.
The Murang'a. Even the party, they were calling it Central Kikuyu. Because Murang'a is in the central, between the southern Kiambu and northern Nyeri. So they were calling it Central Kikuyu Association. This is a Murang'a party. But because it's also being Murang'a, they want also to be in Nairobi. Because Murang'a, they want to know what is going on. So they were meeting in a hotel in Nairobi. James Joroge's hotel was in Nairobi. So that's why they were meeting. So when they were meeting there, they started, now they said, the way they were sworn in to be now civil servants in the court in Murang'a, we are going to swear in people to join our party. So that is the first Muma, political Muma, which started in Murang'a. They were giving Muma in Murang'a to join their party, the Kikuyu Central Association. They started there, and even when they were in Nairobi, because Murang'a at that time had only 15 locations.
So this new movement from Murang'a begins the Muma.
Yeah, they started now also in Nairobi, depending on which location you are, they are your leaders and they'll give you Muma, even Nairobi. And when they go home, they make arrangement for. So it became a big party and they are taking Muma. And Muma that time is, although now is a bit advanced, you take a Bible and you take Muchanga, you put to your what do you call this? Navel. You put
on your navel.
Your navel, you put the Muchanga there. When they put the navel, the soil there, what they are doing, they are swearing with the soil. That those people who are in our soil know that we are swearing, we will get you out because you are already colonized. The soil, the people Muzungu have taken the land, and he have taken you with the land because you are our ancestors are in that land. Know that we are fighting for you. That's what. That's why they were.
That was the meaning.
That's what they were swearing. They were swearing now the soil here in the Nevo.
Yeah.
Because Nevo is Rolera. Is where you have come from.
Rolera.
Rolera. Yeah. When Mutoto is born, they call it the Rolera. So Rolera is what, and Rolera in Kikuyu is your mother side.
Yes.
Because you are Rolera, you are joined with the mother. That's why even in Kikuyu, uncles are very important.
Yes.
Because the year of your Rolera of your mother. So they started that. And when that was going on, some people joined in that group of the Murang'a Association. Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta, and George Kirongothi. He was called George Dengo Kirongothi. Kirongothi is a Kiongozi. He was a Kiongozi. So they call him Kirongothi. He's from Karura.
Yes.
When they joined, now the party started not being, it cannot be called Murang'a anymore. It become now for the all Kikuyu.
Yes.
So they joined, and Kenyatta being what he sort of, he's more educated than Kang'ethe. Kang'ethe was a sergeant in the army. Kenyatta has been amesoma kidogo, so he became like he's now the one taking charge of the KCA. But Koinange is still having his party. Now, Koinange continued now agitating for the land or that. In 1931, Koinange was sent by the British government to Britain to go and tell the Azungu, we Africans, we are happy with the way things are. That was the aim. Because Koinange is a chief, they were sent with another chief from Western, Kapirodo, called Apindi, and another chief from Kambani, the three of them. And now, this other party, KCA, they sent Kenyatta and somebody else called Githendo to go, and there was a commission in Britain. They wanted to represent, to put their papers, their grievances to the commission. So Koinange, of course, had to be taken to go to the Mombasa, take a ship to America.
Go by ship to London. At this point, we have an articulate man who has at least three irons in the fire. He is strong in the church. He is very strong in politics as by the time he goes to London. And he is also senior in the administration, in the British administration, as advisor to the DC. Can you take us through how this articulate man makes the three irons in the fire? And he's also, by the way, you already mentioned, he's already spreading his wings into connections, local connections with Murang'a and Kiambu. And he has an impact on the African response to the British settlement in Kenya. Can you take us through this particular phase?
All that time, there was nothing like Murang'a and Kiambu.
Okay.
People were together.
Okay.
Koinange had, before the grandfathers came from Murang'a, after coming from Murang'a, he had left a land there. In fact, in 1926.
So they were together.
They had called him to go and take his land, family land in Murang'a. So to them, everybody was like coming south. Because south there is more expansion. They're pushing up the Dorobo and people are buying land. So there was nothing like we are from Murang'a or anything. To them, they were together. Here they come, they can stay here. The chiefs from there, Chief Jiri, they'll come and stay here.
And people in Kiambu would have land in Murang'a.
When there was Naragu, the big famine, my mother Joyce was telling me they walked to Mohoya's place in Nyeri.
Yes.
And they cannot cross through here, through Thika, because those rivers are too wide. They have to go up as you are going to Abadeas. Then go all the way.
Find a crossing.
Yeah, find a crossing all the way to Murang'a. And that, because of the famine, people were dying. And when you fall, they just, tagarada, they just go. They leave you there. They're not strong. They're already hungry. They are not strong enough to help you. They go. So people, Joyce went to Nyeri and they stayed there. They got food there, then came, because this side, all the food had been taken to the World War and all that. So there was a lot of hunger. So when in that one, when Koinange went to, when he went to Mombasa.
You say the Ngarague ya hindi ori yarehirwo ni undu wa irio gutwarwo mbara-ini.
Of course, ne bara yatumite
irio kurutwo guku igatwarwo mbara-ini.
Koinange even contributed his own money. Because to him, wazungu were his friends and they wanapigwa, so you help them.
Koguo irio irarutwo itwarwo mbara-ini
ya thungu. And not only that, he, being a chief, he went around looking for people already, especially those who are learned, who have been to school. To his school, and take them to be the karioko, the corps of the carrying.
The corps,
the corps, which was
the carrier corps.
The carrier corps. So when they went there, about 2,000 people didn't come back. They all died in the. When they came back, they were given land. The Wazungu were given land. That's when they got carried. Our people, nothing. So those small grievances Koinange was noticing. This didn't go well. So he went to Britain. And when he went there, Kenyatta was also sent by the party.
Tell us something about the trip by ship to London.
When he was going there, he went with a DC, Kiambu DC called Fazan. And Ricky also came with them. Kenon Ricky is very good in Kikuyu. So they thought these two would translate. So Ricky, in the ship, the room Koinange was staying, Ricky would go in. Koinange, how are you feeling? Not yet well. He used to take quinine. Take a quinine and put it in the mouth. And of course, Ricky knows how bitter quinine is. He said, this man, he must be very sick. And then he was telling Bioreta, I didn't want to tell them what I'm going to say. So They went because he was told you are going to meet the King George. In fact, when he went to Britain, he was treated very well. He even went to see a display of bomb. He went to Cup Final. They took him to a few industries. They took him to Windsor, King's Place. He was treated very well. But then he had to address the parliament. So when they went to parliament, that's when he said, he told the parliament, well, me, I'm from Kenya, and we are very happy with the King George. We are subjects of King George. King George, to us, is our father. But our land is our mother. And we would rather lose our father, but be left with our mother. Because we are young, we are still sucking. Yeah, we won't like to lose our mother.
We need attention.
Yeah, we
would rather have our mother.
Our mother is the most important.
An iconic statement that he made in the...
Fox is there in the Parliament, Hansard.
Yes.
So they said, that's when they discussed it in Parliament, and they decided to send another commission. That time there was a commission already there.
Okay.
They had gone to address a commission. So they sent now a commission. Maurice Carter was a judge in Uganda, and he had been transferred to Tanzania, and he became the chairman of the commission. And when the commission came, Koinange became like the coordinator, because land that time was owned by Bari. Yeah, everybody knew this is Bare, ya Kihara, Bare ya Bogo, Bare ya Jono, Bare ya Bu. The Bare is the owner of that land. So they were representing, they were taking their petition as Bari. This land used to belong to a Bari. Yes. This land belongs to this Bari. And now Koinange knew all those Baris. In fact, Koinange was offered land in the whole of Parklands. Okay. Between the Muthaiga, where they have built the new road, Muthaiga, up to the Faraidano, where there is the church. That land, Koinange was given to withdraw these cases. Land. Kasema, no, I know the owners, I know the Baris who owns that land. I have buried people across at the park. You know, there is a park. The Nairobi Park. Yeah. No, just opposite Aga Khan Hospital. Yes. So there is a park there. City Park. City Park. Yeah. Koinange had buried the owners of that land at the City Park. So he knew who owns that land. He said, no, I cannot take this land. They then, because they were moving them they wanted to take all the land from Nairobi that side. The Jiro, Wai, and all that. The Wazungu wanted to take that land. So they said, this is our grazing land. So they said, they will give you a grazing site. They gave them Deya. Although Deya also, they knew who owns Deya. But most of the Deya part of it was they could take Deya. In fact, they took Deya, but there was no water. That's when they made the Manguo. To dry, Manguo Dam, you know. Yeah, they made the swamp there for them to get water there. So in there, when he said that, the commission came, he stayed with them all over. They were having sittings. And one of the sittings here now, the Koinange, one of the owner of this land, this company, was called Block, a Block. And Block was arguing that when we came here, there was nobody here. And Koinange is saying it's their land. I only heard about him saying this 2 weeks ago. That's what Block said. He only started claiming this land 2 weeks ago. This is our land. Then Koinange he wasn't happy by that. He said, no, maybe it's true. When we came here, you found people, there were not many people. Because people have died because of reader pest. There was another Ngaragu Yaroraya before, this one, and our people have died. But even if all of us die, we still know from this river to this river, from this tree to there, this belongs to Richibari. We know who owns this land. So you cannot say that you found nobody. And the Mzungu insisted, no, we didn't find anybody. And so Koinange asked another lady, his mother, you know, his father's brother called Ngeri. In fact, they were living here. Their land, they were staying here, just here. That's where they were living. The brother had died, Gary, and now the two wives were left. For my father being the Muramati, he would take all the family people. You have to look for where for them to stay, where to run. They were staying here. So one of the lady there called she went and pointed where his father now, his father-in-law, Nadesha was buried. And they digged up, and actually they found.
Okay,
and
they
even
found
Ricky,
the grave. Okay.
Even Ricky, because they had explained how his teeth were and all that before he died. When they removed him, Ricky confirmed this must be the Gadesha. Ricky confirmed, and now the whole commission felt bad. They said no, you know. In Britain, it was splashed in the papers. The commission went uprooting dead people to just prove that land is theirs, and we know it's theirs. So Koinange, they said, at least give him what he wanted. It was about 2,000 acres. He refused. They didn't.
At this point, the settlers who were resisting or who were removing people and taking up land where there were graves, for example, what you said, were they acting individually or as a group?
No. You know, now, after the commission, they passed that Koinange should get his land back. In fact, the land here, where Block was insisting, it was about 2,000 acres. But they didn't give him back. They let a land that the commission had a brief. Don't let the Mwafrika win this case. So it was just...
they were already,
they already
predetermined.
They already knew the end product.
They had limits,
So that one, Koinange was not happy. And that is what made Koinange now move from when Koinange, when Kenyatta was in Britain and Koinange went there, Kenyatta was telling the KCA, there is a commission coming. And if that commission come, please join together with Koinange. Okay. Koinange, we are fighting the same side. We are the same side. If the things here, what he told Parliament, even me, I would not have been able to say that.
He said it very well.
He said it
prioritizing the word mother.
So please join the Koinange and fight. Now we should fight the same side.
The same interests.
So, in fact, even that time, there was another rumor that Koinange out there, they have agreed even the land which was now reserved. Koinange has agreed to be taken by Mzungu. That was a fight now. So John Joe and Philip Karanja, they wrote a memorandum. They said, no, if Koinange said that, we are not together. Okay. We are not fighting. We are not letting the land we have go. So when Koinange came back, even the people were not happy. Because there was that rumor. It was circulated by Mzungu, that's what Koinange is saying. So they didn't even go.
They were making him look like a sellout.
They didn't even go for to
welcome him.
To see him in Mombasa coming back. But Buta was already working there. James Buta was already working in Mombasa. He was a clerk there. So he organized the Kiama there, the Kikuyu Kiama group, and they went to welcome Koinange. But of course, when they came back, they knew it was a propaganda. So, in 1929, something else happened about Koinange. This was a setback. The same church, you know, Koinange is a churchman. He had got a very big following. The church, one of the Mzungu of PCA was now representing Africans in parliament. Because the parliament had no African. The representative of African in parliament, he wrote in the newspaper in August 1929, he said, Kikuyus should not circumcise women. And Koinange supported the Mzungu. Maybe it was a bladder because everybody was against Koinange. Koinange and Philip. Philip is in charge of Scotland Church. Koinange in charge of Anglican. Now they are in the council. And now they are saying no female circumcision. And that time, it's not like today. Everything was, you have to be circumcised. So it was a big fight. Koinange, that Mzungu even went further. He said people are going to sign. Those who don't want circumcision are going to put a fingerprint in a memorandum. That's where this name Kirore.
Kirore.
Kirore. Now these Kirore are the people against FGM. The people for it, they said, no, we are going to be Karinga. Kikuyu Karinga. The Kikuyu Karinga, now you see now they have split. The Kikuyu Karinga, the argument was, we have the Bible here. Show us where is written no female circumcision. There is nowhere in the Bible written that. This is the Bible. It's saying Jesus was born by Moiretu. How can you have a Moiretu who is not circumcised? So Jesus was born by a circumcised. That's what the Bible is saying. It was bad. So people, now the Mzungu is saying, now people have put Kirore. We are not even going to allow people who practice circumcision in our church. So the whole church, in fact, a big percentage, they moved out of the church. They started their own churches, Karinga churches. At that time already, there was somebody from Greek, from Ethiopia, who had started Greek Orthodox. So they were joining the Greek Orthodox Church. And now they all came out from PCA and from Anglican Church. Because they are not practicing that. In fact, Koinange, one of the wife, took a girl. They took him here at Kentmere. They went with Koinange's walking stick to the circumciser. Koinange has given us permission. You can see he has given us his stake.
He's okay.
He's given us permission to circumcise this girl. The girl was circumcised. Koinange, when she learned, the girl, the mother circumciser were all taken in. Walifungwa jela. So after the case, the girl said, I was not forced.
I did it voluntarily.
I did it voluntarily. They didn't force me, so they were all released. So he was that serious. But that thing broke. In fact, when Bio, after Githunguri, we are going to talk about Githunguri College. After Githunguri, the schools which were closed, because they closed all those independent schools.
Okay.
Bio had about 400 schools.
400?
Yeah. Because those now schools which were against, which were now out of the Christian faith. They were now this other faith. The Karinga schools and all, they were calling them, they were independent schools. So, Koinange, after that thing of circumcision, that is when now the commission came. Even so, when he was going to Britain, there were so many people who were against him going because they knew he's the one of this. In fact, they were saying, Mzungu, the case here now at Kenyatta, Mzungu told us, took our land. Now he's telling us not to circumcise our women. Who will going to marry them? Because you cannot marry uncircumcised. So they want to marry our girls.
Okay.
That's what they thought.
Okay.
They are saying that so they can take our girls. Now, Koinange, that time, the only school out, which was now a technical school was NITD. Native Industrial Training Depot. NITD Kabete, that
Kabete, yeah.
NITD, that's where in fact the railway before used to pass there from Norfolk.
Yes.
It was start going there. People at NITD, they had gone to do practicals in Mombasa. They come knowing a song in Mombasa. They changed the wording into Kikuyu. They were calling it Mudirego.
Mudirego.
Mudirego dance was against Koinange and Karanja.
Okay.
They were saying when Kenyatta come from Britain and Hariduku come from detention, Mukehuba Muduru.
Okay.
You were going to wear skirts, you Koinange. Because now you have changed our tradition. You have changed. There is nothing like we don't have that. So when he was going, there was that thing. So when Kenyatta was telling them, join Koinange, the things he talked in Britain is, we are fighting with the same side. So people a bit started coming back to Koinange to fight for the land. And so in 1938, that's when Love Bunche came. Love Bunche came, he had come to research of the land. In fact, my mother was calling him Kariuki.
Kariuki?
Yeah, because my mother at that time, she was a Mohiki, and she was assigned to cook.
Your mother met Love Bunche?
Yes, she was cooking.
Gave him a nickname?
Yes,
okay.
Called her Kariuki. And Kariuki now was staying in a guest room there. And my mother was cooking for him. He stayed. And Love Bunche, 10 years later, he was the one who started Israel. He was the one who negotiated for Israel. In fact, when Love Bunche went back to America, because he was a black American, he was honored by 27 universities. Because, he was an extraordinary man. So he stayed here. He stayed with Koinange here for
where we are.
Period. Yeah, in this land. The guest house is somewhere, just in front of the main house. That's where he was staying. And Love Bunche also did something else to Koinange. Because Koinange when those wazungu from just across here, they used to come to Koinange, even if they send a boy. Koinange anamtolea kofia because he's a mzungu. Then they started noticing, Koinange noticed that the wazungu, when they come to see Bunche, wanamtolea kofia.
Okay.
And he's a black man.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite. And a black man. So Koinange was asked, what is it in Bunche that he's getting all these honors?
Attention, yeah.
So Koinange knew his education. So he decided we are going to have a school of higher learning. Higher learning than what Wazungu. Because Wazungu wanted us to be the highest, those selected few who are in alliance. There was no other school. So Koinange decided we are going to have a school which is going to be of higher learning. And that's when they started Githunguri teachers. So when Bio came, Bio was offered a job to be the headmaster of Prince of Wales. And but they were offering him half the salary of the headmaster who was in that school. Then there was the elders, the Gikuyu Kiama from Githunguri, they also came. They told Koinange, give us this young man so we can be allowed to have a school of higher learning. And they negotiated, they agreed. So Koinange, in fact, Koinange, Githunguri is like him who built it. All the material he had bought to build Bio house. A lot of material, because Bio had wanted a 3-story house.
He put it in there.
He took it to Githunguri. He bought land in Githunguri. He started now what they were calling like Harambe. You do it by Rika. This Rika, like John Bio Rika was called Shiringi. That time they were calling themselves Nudu. They were the one who brought water.
The Rikas were like competing.
Rikas were competing. And now Rika, you put money together, you do there is a project here to build a girls' dormitory. We call it Kerere. There is another project here to bring water. They buy pump and the pipes and put water in Githunguri. So Githunguri became Koinange's baby. He made sure. So even when Bio now went to Githunguri as the president of Githunguri College, Koinange was happy.
So higher learning was motivated by Ralph Bunche. When he saw the respect that was given to Ralph Bunche.
Yes.
And then he is educating his own son. And he has the idea to push higher learning. To gain respect.
To gain respect.